There's an awful lot of talk about the Tesla compact model, the Model Q, if you will, and will you? I hope so. But what is it actually going to be? We don't know, but we have some ideas. I'm joined by Randy, and in for the rest of you guys, you know the deal. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla weekend. So, Randy, how are you?
Well, so far so good. We're
That's pretty
recording
good.
this on Monday morning. I have no idea when you're going to show it, but we've just had those numbers come out, and everybody is panicking or buying more stock.
Or both. Or
Or
both.
both.
They're panic buying. There's a shortage of it. There's a finite number, and
Yes,
I must collect them all.
that's right.
So, the compact is a big catalyst in the future. We don't know what it's going to be just yet. We don't know when it's going to be just yet, but we are all very excited. What is it going to? What do you think that car is going to actually be?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. I'm so glad you asked me because I've been looking at all these pictures that folks have been putting up on the internet, and their ideas of what they think it's going to be, including pictures that apparently came from the very design rooms of Tesla themselves. Pictures of wooden versions and pictures on the wall. I think you even commented that it would not be unusual to have dozens and dozens of such pictures on the wall that would have nothing to do with the final result. See, I do watch your show from time to time. Anyway, well, okay. So maybe the first question might be, what would I like it to be?
What would you like it to be?
I wouldn't. There's a very low likelihood that I'd be interested in any of them.
Oh,
So from a driving perspective, I did drive Wankel Mazda station
hmm.
wagons for a couple of years. So I have driven small cars. I think that might have been. I drove some Valiants, Plymouth Valiants. Remember those?
No.
No, Dodge Darts. Same thing, same car.
Okay.
Anyway, but I've never been really interested in the very, very small cars. So, having said that, let's talk about what I think would sell. And now we have to divide that into the two things because we have the one that would sell and the one that wouldn't be for sale.
Okay. That's right.
So, right. So, should they be close? That becomes a question. Should they have the same exterior, interior, except that one has a wheel and one doesn't? I mean, so that's a big question. Given first principles and given the dynamics of commonality and the way to get the cost down by having things be as common as possible, you'd think you'd want something that is going to be that you just take out the wheel, eliminate the pedal, and you're ready to go with the vehicle that is only a robo taxi. So now, what would that look like? Now, I don't know. Am I chasing my tail here?
Absolutely.
I am
Let
all
let's.
about the idea of a stainless steel futuristic version of it.
Oh wow. Well, let's start with form factor. Take something like a Honda Civic hatchback.
Yeah.
Would that sell?
Well, probably only because that's what people are used to, but there's no way that's what it's going to be.
Okay.
It's going
So,
to be something futuristic, something different, some uniqueness. It can't. Elon is not going to go down the road of copying an existing vehicle uh, and making it electric. That's just not going to happen.
so a four-door compact city car, like a Model 3 but smaller, out of the running.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, I don't think that's where I think it'd be fine. I think that might be the thing that would be most, if I was a buyer, I might be the most interested in that. But I might also, if I was 35 or 45 or 55, I might be more interested in something more cyber that had something where I was going to be standing out,
But
not just
for
blending in.
but taxis don't need to stand out necessarily.
But the idea of a Cybertruck body lowers the overall cost, which I think would be the most important in the Cybertruck, I mean, cyber car version of it.
So I'm going to push back and say no. No, it won't. And here's why. The reason you're doing the stainless is because you need all that structure to support the weight in the bed, to support the heaviness of the truck. And if you scale it down the weight requirements, then you can make the steel thinner, but then it'll wobble. The whole reason it's stamped is to give it rigidity that it wouldn't have if it was flat. So I don't know that a cyber design would necessarily work in metal. Now, maybe in another, maybe carbon composite or carbon fiber or something else, balsa, maybe not balsa. It'd be light. It'd be light.
It could be light.
Until you paint it, and then it's 900 pounds a foot. But I don't know what could it be other than stainless. Because I think the problem with stainless would become if you're making 2 million, 4 million a year, that becomes too much stainless to reasonably acquire, because the nickel content is quite high, and nickel is not in infinite supply. And currently the largest deposits, I believe, are still in Russia, which at the moment is not in a position to do much exporting.
Well, then why not all glass?
Why not all? And wow, why not all glass?
You've got these metallic
Randy.
glasses. You've got these metallic glasses now.
You've got the cyber glass. Let's just keep putting cyber in front of things and see what sticks. But that's not crazy.
No.
That's not crazy. I mean, it probably is. Someone, please tell us in the comments why that's crazy. Because I think that's very interesting.
Another one would be, you always got to think in terms of plastics, even though there are, those among us who think that plastics are evil. I don't happen to think plastics are evil. I think plastics have their place. Plastics are recyclable, certainly in the size of an automobile. So there are very rigid and very strong plastics out there. Are plastics that are like, even the product that I make is a multi-layer plastic, so that you can get different characteristics on the outside than you do on the inside. So maybe there's some combination of plastics, or plastics and metals, or plastics and fiber, or plastics and glass that might be the way to go.
Well, people made fun of the Saturn for being plastic, but it was a good design and it did suit its purpose. And a second-use plastic is not as good as a first-use plastic in the same application. But you can put a second-use plastic into a new application. There's a startup in Africa that takes, I don't remember if it was pop bottles or what it was, but something disposable in plastic, and presses them into bricks, which are then donated for housing projects.
Right.
Works just fine. And it was like, well, yeah, but you can't recycle those. No, those you can recycle back into bricks. They're still bricks. They're not going to be thin and have the same characteristics that you would want in a Coke bottle, but it would still be fine for a brick. And if you're putting it into something you're building, you've got 50 years, 100 years before it's even a consideration again. And bricks can be reused without changing the shape, without recycling them. So the plastic concern, and I'll tell you my big problem with a lot of plastic policies is they crack down on you and me, and you and me are not putting our shopping bags into the sewer drain. They're not addressing the right problem in the right place is my problem with a number of those. And the amount of energy it takes to make a reusable bag is vastly greater than anyway. So,
well, then we have another consideration here. This is a product that I think will actually be revealed in the next 6 months, and will actually be produced in the next year. Because I know that I heard your show the other day where you now believe that Austin might be a pilot line. It will not be the line, but it will be the pilot line. I don't know do you have a run rate in mind for the pilot line, a maximum run rate for a pilot line?
Zero. It's just for
Zero,
testing and
zero run
configuration. Zero. It's a zero line. They had a pilot line for the Cybertruck in Fremont. It made 6 trucks, 10 trucks,
I see.
but none of them were saleable. And a lot of people, well, no, they're expanding that building all the way down to the river. No, they're not. They just paved the roads. So that's no longer in the cards. They just put a small extension to stamping 2.
But you can't find room. You can't find room in that building. You can't see any place. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just asking the question as an analyst.
Right. And the people have said it's plenty big enough. Just use
Move things around.
Right. Move things around. The whole point, if that were the case, they wouldn't need to custom build each factory. You could just go into any warehouse and use the space. The unbox method is going to be using vertical space. It's going to be using all kinds of different, there'll be heavy foundation areas. There'll be light foundation areas.
Oh, yeah.
It has to be custom. It has to be custom built. It would be easier to quickly throw up a building somewhere else on the property than to repurpose the existing factory. And so much of that space is already accounted for that whatever slivers they have would probably be non-consecutive. They would be non-contiguous in ways that would make the work difficult. And if anything has to come in from a different level, now you're talking demolishing floors. It's logistically challenging.
So, all right. So under the Bryan theory, let me see if I got this right. Under the Bryan theory, they might put up a pilot line, which would be a very small line that would be basically making sure the tooling works and making sure things are working. In the meantime, if they got the water permits in 30 days in Mexico, and that was really the last thing, which apparently is maybe the truth, they could maybe be starting to build in November, maybe December. And so maybe they put it up as fast as they put up Shanghai once they first actually get going. So they could be putting out the first car in January of 25.
So they will not build it as quickly as they built Shanghai for a couple reasons. When they built Shanghai, it was vastly smaller. It was single floor. There was very little ground remediation required. This is rocky, uneven, sloped hill. The site prep alone is going to be months. And then the factory itself is going to be grand in scale and ambition. It's not happening in 24. It's not happening in January of 25, but that's okay because when we look back in 10 years and we say, was it January or was it June? Yeah. No one's going to care.
All right. So that would mean that we have more time then. I was trying to put a timeline on this in terms of design. How much time do they still have to go before they really have to make a final decision? So probably then in that case, they have they might have 5 or 6 months to go before they are getting into kind of final before they would have to be well along on that pilot line. Is that fair?
I don't know. I don't know. And I don't care.
Okay.
I'm just excited to see what comes. And if your theory is correct that it's going to be something that's very radically different, I think we could see the announcement sooner than I had expected. Because if it's different enough, it's not going to kill sales on other models, especially if it's something where you look at it and you go, well, that's definitely just a robo-taxi, maybe not even a car. I think it'd be interesting to look at that way. So, Randy, I do want to thank you for your time. Good news, you only got jittery towards the end, so that's
glass,
great.
Glass. I'm all about glass.
That's great. So everybody, don't forget to like and subscribe and do all that stuff. Come out and see me on October 8th at the Electric Car Expo in Portland there. It's going to be a lot of fun. And for everybody else, stay tuned, stay juicy, and I can't wait to hear from you clever robots on the next one.